You've seen this place a million times, right? Carved into the granite of South Dakota's Black Hills, Mount Rushmore is, without a doubt, one of America's most iconic landmarks. But, behind that famous facade, there's a story, and it's way more complex than you might think.
Oh yeah? You know these guys. Washington, Jefferson, Roosevelt, and Lincoln. Their faces are 60 feet tall, just etched into the American consciousness. We've seen them everywhere, from big blockbuster movies to the change in our pockets. But here's the thing, this monument isn't just about 4 presidents. Nope. It's a story of incredible ambition, of deep controversy, and a huge debate about what it all really represents. So let's dive in and get the full story behind the stone. Okay, so first, let's look at the monument the way its creator, a guy named Gutzon Borglum, wanted us to see it, as a shrine of democracy.
So why these 4 guys specifically? Well, Borglum's choices were super symbolic. You've got Washington for the birth of the nation, Jefferson for its growth, think the Louisiana Purchase. Then there's Roosevelt for its development, like the Panama Canal. And finally, Lincoln for holding it all together, for its preservation. Each face was meant to mark a huge moment in the first 150 years of American history.
And you know what? In one key way, Borglum's vision was a massive, massive success. Its popularity. We're talking over 2 million people every single year who make the trip to the Black Hills just to stare up at these incredible carvings. It's a true icon.
But that's just one side of the story. To really get the full picture, we have to rewind. Because before it was ever called Mount Rushmore, this mountain had a very different and very sacred name to the Lakota Sioux people.
For the Lakota, this mountain was known as Tunkashila Shakbe, or the 6 Grandfathers. The whole Black Hills area is sacred land to them. So carving the faces of presidents on it, well, that's not seen as an honor. It's seen as a desecration.
And this is really the heart of the controversy. Back in 1868, a treaty gave the Black Hills to the Sioux Nation forever. But then gold was discovered. The U.S. government broke that promise and just took the land. The Supreme Court even later called it a clear case of dishonorable dealings. The court awarded money, but the Sioux have refused it. They want one thing, their land back.
So, let's put a pin in the controversy for just a moment and talk about the actual creation of this thing. Because honestly, it was a staggering feat of engineering. Let's take a look at how they did it.
It almost wasn't presidents up there at all. The original idea came from a local historian who wanted to carve regional heroes, like Lewis and Clark, and even the Lakota leader Red Cloud. But Borglum, the sculptor, he had much grander plans. He pushed for a national vision, something that would get everybody's attention and, importantly, federal funding. The process itself was just incredible. It was basically an art of demolition. Get this, they started with dynamite. 90% of the rock was blasted away with precision charges. After that, they did something called honeycombing to get closer to the final shape. And only then did the carvers come in, doing the fine details by hand with hammers and chisels. Just a wild mix of brute force and delicate skill.
To give you a sense of the sheer scale, the workers blasted away almost 500,000 tons of granite. They literally reshaped the entire skyline.
And here's maybe the most astonishing fact of all. Over 14 years of incredibly dangerous work, we're talking men dangling hundreds of feet in the air, using dynamite every day, not a single worker died. For that era, that safety record is just remarkable.
So here's a little secret. The monument you see today is actually unfinished. Borglum's original plan was to carve each president from the head all the way down to the waist. But he died in 1941, and with America's attention turning to World War II, the funding just dried up. The project was declared complete as is.
And that brings us right back to the central conflict here. Because for many people, and particularly for Native Americans, it's just impossible to separate the sculpture from the history of the land that it's carved on.
So while Borglum called it a shrine of democracy, its critics have a very different name for it, a shrine of hypocrisy, a monument to the very nation and the presidents who took this sacred land it was built on.
And look, this isn't just a matter of opinion. In 1980, the U.S. Supreme Court itself ruled that the seizure of the Black Hills was illegal. They awarded financial compensation, which with interest is now over $1 billion. And that money sits there, untouched. The Sioux Nation's stance has never changed. The Black Hills are not for sale.
So with this incredibly complex history, the story of Mount Rushmore is really far from over. Its legacy is still being debated and defined, even today.
Here's another fascinating detail. Did you know there's a sort of secret room behind Lincoln's head? Borglum planned a hall of records inside the mountain to hold America's most important documents. It was never finished, but in 1998, they placed a titanium vault inside. It holds porcelain panels that tell the story of the nation, a time capsule for people thousands of years from now.
You know, the idea of adding a fifth face has never really gone away. People have proposed everyone from Susan B. Anthony to Ronald Reagan, Donald Trump even expressed interest in it. But engineers have looked at it and they say the rest of the granite is just too unstable for any more carving.
But you really can't tell the story of Mount Rushmore without talking about its neighbor. Just a few miles away, another mountain is being carved, the Crazy Horse Memorial. It was started in 1940 as a direct response to Rushmore, to honor a legendary Lakota leader. And if it's ever finished, it will absolutely dwarf the president's. It creates this landscape of two competing, monumental visions locked in a kind of silent stone dialogue.
So in the end, Mount Rushmore is caught in this state of constant tension. It's a shrine of democracy, and it's a symbol of a broken promise. It's a testament to incredible artistic ambition, and it's a reminder of historical injustice. It really forces us to ask the question, what does a monument mean when its story isn't fixed in stone, but is constantly being reshaped by the stories we choose to tell about it?